The proof is out there. Seek the proof.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
Welcome back
everybody.
to Friday night, right?
Absolutely.
You see Wayne over there, so you know that's right. It's the proof
The proof is out there.
is out there, right?
Seek the proof.
I think I heard a ding. Oh, look at that! I did hear a ding. And Alan,
Hey,
Bishop,
look at
What's
that.
up, guys?
doing this.
I'm trying to figure my volume out. I can't hardly hear you guys.
Oh,
Oh, we can hear you good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Give me just a minute. You guys go ahead. Just give me just a second here. I'll see what I can figure out.
Not a problem, brother. Not a problem.
I'm sharing it up on the militia page here real quick.
What's up, Motor City Hellbilly?
Already in the house.
Bar.
Give me
Mark
just a
Food.
second. I'm going to log out and then I'll log back in, guys.
All right, man. We'll be here.
Oh, there's the
So-
Moonshine Company. What's up, Brandon? A lot of people popping
Everyone.
in.
There we go. All right. So now that I got it shared everywhere and everything's going out there, we should see some people start rolling in here. This episode is kind of a special episode.
A little different.
It's a little different. Typically, on the Moonshine Militia page, we're going to be discussing stuff that has to do with distilling, moonshine, liquor, that kind of stuff.
Not
But
tonight.
with when you came to me and with this idea and I was tossing some stuff around, I was like, why don't we, use the proof as a play on words?
Absolutely.
We can talk about alcohol proof or like proof is out there on weird stuff kind of thing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is our first episode where we're actually diving in to the 14 stuff, I guess you could say.
Yep.
The weird stuff that's out there.
Folklore.
Wicked Winter.
Absolutely.
And I know I've done some research. I know Alan's done some research, Wayne has done some research. And I think Alan said he's got some stories too. So whenever he comes back in,
Alan is like an encyclopedia for this stuff. That guy is just he knows so much of this stuff.
yeah. Well, he's got the pod. I'll have him talk about his podcast when he comes back in here.
Yeah, if you have ghosts, you have everything. Great podcast.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that one for a while. He's got some really good episodes on there.
Does he? I caught a couple episodes of it. It's one of those podcasts I really want to start listening to more because it's interesting.
Yeah, my favorite episode is the Count of Saint Germain. It's that whole story is just fascinating to me, and he does a great job on that one.
David Dance, Moonshine Company. Yeah, the encyclopedia of a lot of other shit too. It is insane. The way that this guy talks about stuff.
He forgot more shit than I will ever know.
Well, I guess we're waiting. I don't want to. There he is.
Oh, hey.
We were just talking about him and he appears. Can you hear us now?
That's how it
Like
works.
magic. Yep. You
It's
guys hear me?
magic, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you just fine.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't getting any volume. I'm doing it off my phone, so I don't have to use that janky ass camera on the laptop. So
Yeah, my laptop camera sucks.
yeah, if I use the good one, it lags my computer out for some reason.
Ah.
So
So we were just talking about
Hoosier
your
problems.
podcast, Alan. If you have ghosts, you have everything.
yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of why we thought about you when we were talking. When Wayne and I were talking about doing this episode. Well, let's see if Alan will come back. I'm sure he's got some stories.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm happy to do it. That's right up my alley, man.
Once you,
I love all that kind of stuff.
Go ahead and tell them a little bit about your podcast, if you would, Alan.
Yeah, we'll do. So it's kind of hard to put in a really concise form. So I'll do my best here. But the premise is understand that everything that I do, whether it's distilling or writing agriculture, spirituality, whatever. I have a very almost Hellenistic Greek approach to life in general. For me, there is no dividing line between magic and spirituality and religion and everyday life. It's all one thing. It's all interconnected. It took me a lot of years to figure out how to put that into words. And that's really what, if you have ghosts, you have everything is all about. So it's a little bit of a catch all for all of those sort of other category things that people might think of as being preternatural or supernatural or Fortean or high strangeness or ghost stories or spiritual stuff or hey, here's a weird poem I wrote about some mythological element or Gnosticism or Hermeticism. It touches on all those things, as well as having guests, that we bring in and get stories from, or sometimes having guests like I had Kevin Rose on, my brother from Bourbon Turntable, because Kevin is an evangelical Christian, and you can't get much more opposite of what I am than Kevin. But Kevin and I get along extremely well, and I'm very interested in how people think, what they believe, and why they believe those things. And so a podcast like that's a great format to be able to do it. As I was jokingly telling Tyler last night on our new podcast, Sacred and Profane, that we haven't released yet, I'm slowly like the opposite of everything else I've ever done. I'm slowly dwindling the audience of If You Have Ghosts. It's going to be down to like the 10 most hardcore people that exist in the world that are involved in this stuff are going to be the only 10 that listen. And that's okay. Right. That's kind of the demographic, but we touch on a lot of popular stuff, and it's not all serious all the time. A lot of times I'll bring in Andy Kasperzak, who's hilarious, and he kind of lightens that show up quite a bit when he's on there. But we still get into a lot of UFO disclosure and stuff like that with Andy, because that's really his forte. So yeah, if you can think of it, we've probably covered it. Ghosts, Sasquatch. I've done a lot of Grimm's fairy tales. I think that
I love those.
I love doing those too. And a lot of Charles Perrault, his stuff as well. I say a lot of times here in this country, I think one of the things that we really miss out on and that we don't understand is that everyone is disconnected from their culture to some degree. Even if you live in a traditional area, you're disconnected from your culture. And if you don't have those roots, and this is one thing I learned in the distilling industry, talking to people from other countries, they have an understanding of exactly who they are and what they are and where they're from, because they grew up in that, in a way that even those of us that did grow up with it to some degree, we don't experience that. And they tend to know themselves in a way that we don't know ourselves. And so those fairy tales are super important. It's a huge part of culture it gets missed out on, and not the Disneyfied versions, right?
Yeah.
The darker, the more messed up, the better. So
that's I was going to mention, as we were doing research, Damon and I'm sure he experienced the same thing I did. Doing research, you start digging in, and just like you mentioned, the fairy tales as we have them here ain't the same as what they started out.
No.
Yeah.
by no stretch of the imagination. And it's the same
No.
thing with the things that we're going to talk about tonight. A lot of them, as they blended in with Christian culture, and they merge these to try to, for all the reasons they're trying to bring people in. They take on, they change the storyline.
Yes.
A little bit changes, character changes, the way they behave changes. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. Well, that's another a little preface sort of thing that you guys might find interesting too, that I tell a lot of times when I'm talking about history with distilling as well, is that, and this applies all throughout history to Christianity and almost all religions, with the exception of Islam's probably the one exception, because the way that everything is written in the Quran, it's to be taken as what it is exactly. There's not a lot of room for interpretation. But the early settlers in this country, especially here, where you're at, Wayne, where I'm at, they were, and even in the colonies, they were Christian, but they were not Christian in the way that you think of Christianity now. They definitely made room for magic and folklore and high strangeness and things that they couldn't explain. They had that in them, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of what we got going on tonight, Wayne, you want to kick off anything you've done the research on?
Yeah, let's let's see. I don't know where to start. All right, so since it's Christmas, um have you guys ever heard of a fella named Belsnickel?
Schnickel,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hadn't in this research, so I've got my notes here. So says here that he's a fur-clad switch wielding Christmas figure. Supposedly they says here he's not Santa, he's Santa's grumpy, judgmental cousin. Um, um,
We'll have one of those.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this folklore is southwestern Germany is where it originated, or what they're saying here. And it's still among the Pennsylvania Dutch communities in the US here is still talked about, still
Yeah.
a thing. So his appearance, he was dressed in tattered furs, covered in, soot, dirt, just kind of rugged, uh unkempt beard, carried a switch and a bag of treats. And he said that he would throw candy on the floor. He would talk to kids. He would go, because Santa, they know when Santa's coming, um, but not Bell's Nickel, just show up,
Yep.
and so he would be talking to the children, and and he'd throw this candy down on the floor, and well, then you're separating the wheat from the chaff, and then the greedy ones get the switch, and the good ones get rewarded. And it's kind of it's kind of cool how it ties in, and it teaches a lesson. Not all of these do, but they all have a lesson behind them, and it's usually
Yeah,
greed
absolutely.
or
Well,
Well, I think
how
that
much better would the would the work Christmas party be if you could handle it the same way?
yeah. Well, I think in essence, most of these stories, most of this stuff that you dig back into it,
yeah,
was meant to teach a lesson. I mean,
exactly.
to teach kids not to be doing these kind of things.
That's the
It
problem with the
definitely
kids today.
was. Well,
That's
and
the problem.
there's also these stories too. Remember this. So everything revolves around the natural cycle of the seasons. You're dealing with people that are farmers. They're hoping they have enough agricultural abundance throughout history, right? To be able to
Right.
make it through the hard parts of the year. And you have much less light in the wintertime, right? And so you're also you're looking at the wintertime in a way, especially around the period that we're in now, what would have been Saturnalia at the time, or the winter solstice. You're almost looking at this part of the year as a work is pretty much done. Now it's survival. If we had a good
Right.
year, we got plenty of time. We're going to tell stories. If we had a bad year, we got plenty of time. We're going to be really hungry and be worried about dying and telling stories,
Right.
right? And all the way down to a lot of the roots of all this background stuff that we'll talk about this evening too. You'll hear Saturnalia. Obviously, I've talked about it a lot, but you'll also point this out to people just as a historical thing because I think you guys will enjoy this. If you really wanted to get to the roots of this time of the year and get to a specific culture and get to why the bright lights and then the contrast between darkness and light and all that stuff, if you were to go back to ancient Greece, and this is where a lot of those moral stories come in as well, and you were to go to the Temple of Apollo, it was only the and this ties into all these sort of green man characters that we'll talk about as you just mentioned, or Santa Claus, etc. The Temple of Apollo for 3 months in the wintertime was the Temple of Dionysus, whose mother was Persephone, who descended into the underworld. And so the temple was basically inverted in color and theme to represent that green man sort of characteristic, both in its positive and negative connotation, gifting and taking away. The same thing with Saturnalia that was celebrated in Rome. You are letting the slaves for a while become the masters of the people who have been their master all year as a reminder, don't treat me bad this next year because you're going to
Right.
find out about it when I have your position, right? It's all about that give and take, that positive, negative aspect.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of that also goes back to some of a lot of Scandinavian folklore too. When the dark part of the year was very specifically could mean life or death.
Mhm.
Early on, if if like you were saying earlier, if your crops and stuff weren't good throughout the year, well, once the Yule season came, you could die. You very well could
Yes.
die. um, it's a dark part of the season. Days are shorter. That's where the story of the wild hunt comes from, and
Mhm.
Odin on Sleipnir flying through with the dead, pulling people out. So you know,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of that stuff comes from a lot of those um, early, I don't want to say early civilizations,
Mhm.
like that time.
Yeah,
So
a
Bill,
lot of that, a lot of that
nice.
death. Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of that death stuff too. Remember this, that Christmas as a holiday, even in the United States, remained incredibly dark as a holiday until the 1920s.
Yeah,
It wasn't all
Roaring
bells and whistles
20s.
and yeah, and joy and happiness. There was a lot of that darkness there, and that green man aspect that's involved in Belsnickel, etc.,
Right, right.
is that reminder that there's an element of life that continues throughout that dark time of the year, but that it is death that feeds that life when spring comes back around. That dying and rising God concept. So
One
yeah,
of the
I ramble a lot about this stuff, guys. I apologize.
no, you're great. Let it rip. I was going
that's
to
why I
say that
wanted you on here.
one of the local store owners here, or in the town next to us here, um, he had a big thing set up, and it was had Krampus, and the people, yeah, they kind of rebelled against him. They threw a fit and raised a bunch of hell. I was like, come on, y'all, lighten up.
Right,
Well, that
right. I
that's a
mean,
perfect that's a perfect lead in there, Wayne. Thanks for mentioning Krampus because that's the first guy that I chose.
Hmm.
Now, most people today they know the Hollywood version of Krampus, right? The monster on the movie posters and in that movie that they put out a few years ago.
Yeah.
But the real Krampus, the one from Alpine folklore, is far, far older and far nastier. By the way, the creature comes from the mountains of Austria, Bavaria, and southern Germany, places where winter isn't just a season; it's a force of nature. It's a test of survival. Krampus is described as a half goat, half demon, covered in black or brown fur, with long curling horns, cloven hooves, and a tongue that hangs out. Um, you know, and he carried with him a basket and a bunch of switches. They say that Krampus was the other half of Saint Nick.
Kind of
Kids
like Belsnickel.
kids that were nice and obedient to their parents, and this is specific. Kids that were nice and obedient to their parents got gifts from Santa Claus or Saint Nick. Ones that weren't obedient, they got visited by Krampus, and sometimes they got stuffed in a bag, and Krampus ate them later on for a snack, depending on how bad they were.
Yeah.
And the wild part is that, and also Krampus doesn't come on Christmas Eve. He comes on December 5th. Krampusnacht. Nacht. It's the night of Krampus. So you can, like, nowadays you got kids like, okay, well, it's Christmas time. Santa Claus is coming. I want to be good for these next few weeks. December 5th shows up. You might be shit out of luck. So,
yeah, no, that's very. You better help me cut this firewood. You better help me cut this firewood.
Right.
But it's another one of those great examples though of that wild man archetype, that satyr archetype, that the
yep.
again Dionysus living out in the woods, or the dog-headed men, the cynocephali that there were legends about, or that aspect of, and everyone who's ever lived in a rural area has felt this, even if they have no paranormal belief whatsoever, or supernatural belief, or preternatural, whatever. But that feeling in the wintertime that you get when it's dark, or you're coming up on being late twilight and you're outside, or it's early in the morning and you're like, what is that weird thing from that direction where those pine trees are that I feel right now, right? There's just something inherently built into us where we're like, there's a thing, that thing that lives there on the edge of everything, right? That could potentially be an issue, and children really tap into that, and so it's
And
great for
that's
those
like,
moral lessons.
and from a psychological aspect, Krampus really it hits on every winter fear pack, into the human
Yeah.
brain.
Mhm.
The long nights, the bitter cold, the idea that something might be standing just outside the firelight, watching you, waiting for you to step out of
Yes,
line. So, and
yes,
they also
absolutely.
They also do the Krampuslauf, the Krampus run still in a lot of countries, and they started a bunch of
Hmm.
them have started popping up here in America as well.
Yeah, we've got a gentleman in Salem that runs. I can't remember what business it is, but he's got a theater background. He does a lot of makeup and stuff, and so he's done different characters throughout the year. But he did Krampus on December the 5th in Salem on the square. And unlike with Wayne, our people here are just pagan enough now again, because it goes through those little cycles, that
Getting
they
into
didn't
it.
complain this time. Right.
Ah,
10 years
cool.
ago, that it would have been a whole different ball game, and you'd had to remind somebody, hey, your grandma was a granny witch. Get it
Well,
together.
what surprised me so much about this is the town here. I'm not gonna say anyway. They're it's a college town, and they're one of the most liberal freaking places I've ever seen, and they're throwing a fit. It's like, come on, it's okay to drag rainbows down the street and everything else, but we're gonna throw a fit about
Yep.
Krampus? Come on.
Well, that clash of cultures too is a part of this. So you had mentioned the Wild Hunt, which is one of my I love the Wild Hunt, and I love that there is no definitive story of the Wild Hunt. And one of the reasons there's no definitive story of the Wild Hunt is because most of that tradition is in England. At least more of the tradition as we know it was developed in England around the 9th century, which is this weird time period where you have a clash of cultures like what you're talking about, Wayne. You have the Gaels and the Gauls, and they don't exactly get along, but there's sort of, and you have the Celtic Church, which is not the Roman Catholic Church. And so what you see in that particular story is, yeah, a God is coming, but it may not be what you think it is, but it might also be what you think it is. And it depends on what your version of redemption is, right?
Right?
You going to go with that full on, Jesus redemption, or are you going to go with I want to go to Valhalla, and if that requires me to be in the path of this horrid slay and these
Well,
dead risen again warriors, then so be it. Let's make
see,
that happen. It's a thing.
Alan, the reason I like to think the reason why there's not a lot of stories about the Wild Hunt out there is because anybody that saw the Wild Hunt got taken. So
You know what, if you were to ask me, I think that's absolutely the case. I will say this: I think a lot of these mythologies and a lot of these fairy tales and a lot of this folk knowledge, they have some root in fact and truth. Um, we're seeing more and more of that in the world today. Weird
yeah.
things are coming to the surface, and we live in a weird time with this whole disclosure thing. There's a lot of lying going on with that, but there are things that go bump in the night, as far as I'm concerned. So it would not surprise
Oh
me,
yeah,
not one bit, brother, at
not at
all,
all.
at all.
Right.
So you got a Christmas story, something winter based story, Alan?
Well, the Wild Hunt is the main one that I love, but you know, I don't know that I specifically have one in particular that is just Christmas based. And I didn't go into folklore. Obviously you could talk about the Befana, the Christmas Witch of Italy, that sort of thing.
Right.
Um, I'm more a matter of this is the time of the year where little things happen to me quite often. Um, little incidences here and there that just remind me of the spirit of the land, the spirit of the place, and the spirit of the season and what's happening. And so I tend to go back towards things that I can remember have happened. And so for many years, I played I played the town Santa Claus for Pekin, Indiana. I think 14 years, something like that. Now that Penny's getting a
Sweet.
little older and she understands, I'm going to start doing it again next year, and she's going to be my elf, and I'm really looking forward to that. Now I always played
Awesome.
the Father Christmas version, the English version. I love the majesty of that whole thing. Again, it ties back into those Bacchic roots. It ties into the Druidic Scythian roots, the way that Father Christmas dresses with the hood and the whole thing, as opposed to the Coca-Cola Santa Claus. And
Yeah.
I I bought into that pretty heavily when I was doing it for many years. And what I mean by that is I'd have some drinks and I'd listen to Typo Negative or Bajas or whatever weird music I was into, and it sort of helped you get into the spirit of the season and the character,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
again, there's no dividing lines for me in life. Um, so during COVID, it'd been a couple years since I'd done it, and one of my ex girlfriends, her sister, who was kind of like a daughter to me because her sister's quite a bit younger. She was like 9 or so when me and this girl were running around, but her sister had some children, and she was having an organ failure problem. They were having a really, really rough time. And so I got asked to do a Christmas video for them dressed up as Santa Claus during COVID. And I also ended up doing, I think, the night before Christmas, reading that as a general like YouTube video or Facebook video or something. But we went up to the farm, and Wayne's been up to the farm. We went to my little cabin, which that cabin was the site of some truly strange trickster elements, and has been over the years that I've talked about on If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. And nothing had happened up there for years. And so me and Kim are in the cabin. She's filming on the cell phone. I'm sitting there dressed up as, Santa Claus, Father Christmas. And we get done, wrap everything up. It's all went really, really well. We raised some money for the girl I was talking about and helped her out with Christmas. And, her kids got to see Santa Claus despite COVID and all that stuff. So we get done and we're getting ready to walk out of the building, and just it's always like a reminder. It's always a thing. It's always when you least suspect it. As soon as we walk out of my little cabin / shed, some creature that I can't identify, that I never saw and neither did Kim, makes this horrifying squealing noise. And it's not a coyote, it's not a mink, it's not a fox, it's not anything that you could put your finger on to say that's what that was. And then you hear it just take off through the woods. I'm like, that there was that me buying into that character, that thing, that archetype, as Young would say, knowing that I had acknowledged it, maybe pushing me in a certain direction and then leaving, and it was done and it was over with. Right? That's just another one of those passive examples. And of course, there's always alcohol opens doors, obviously.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I've been
Vito,
open
what
to
is it
those
gonna be over
things.
at us?
Right. I've been open to some of those things a little too much in the past. Matter of fact, tonight I'm breaking my alcohol fast with you guys just to have a little absinthe to tell some
I
stories.
noticed that you had the absinthe.
Yeah,
Oh, I need to
I
get some of that.
I believe
Okay.
I might have pulled what Johnny Depp, what the prosecutor referred to as a mega pint on the absinthe on accident. So, but
That's all right. I've been drinking a IPA, and I've got a little corn I've been sipping on. So
I need to
now,
get some of that absinthe.
yeah. So we just got label approval finally from the TTB today. They're a nightmare when it comes to absinthe. There's still so much superstition around it, and it hasn't changed yet. And so they don't really want you to use the word absinthe on the label. But we finally got the label approved after over 6 months, and I don't know how many times it got rejected. So I'm excited about that. A couple more little stories here I'll tell you guys that are kind of interesting. So, and they happen about this time of the year. So again, you're in the dark part of the year. Everybody always thinks of Halloween, like, Samhain and the Day of the Dead are like the highlight of that dark time of the year. They're not. That's the entryway. That's what's called the Scorpio Gate. Again, all these things tying together. So if you were to go back to ancient Egypt, there were two gateways to get through the Milky Way to get to the Duat, to get to heaven. One was the Scorpius Gate, which was reserved for kings and royals and high people until the Book of Coming Forth by Day, or the Book of the Dead, was created for the people. And then you had Orion's Gate, which is in the springtime. And those are straight shots through the Milky Way. The idea was you were overcoming all these forces of the dead to get to where you're going, or to be judged and sent back. So it's the opening of that gate, but that's not the entirety of the story. You have literally up into, and then even after, to some degree, the winter solstice. That's going to be really the thinnest point in the veil of all until you get back to spring around Ostara or Easter, and that Orion's Gate sort of period. So even January, a very dark, very cold month. And I mention that because I think both of these happened in January, and sort of attributed to a thinning of the veil and certain people just being more open to seeing things. And again, could be Christmas related, could not be. But the first one is, well, there's kind of three of them here, and they all involve my dad. And I mentioned him for a reason, because it's tied to distillation. So going to work at Spirits of French Lick, we drive through an area called Stampers Creek over in Orange County. And anyone who follows me is aware of that area. I've talked about it many, many times. A lot of old distilleries that were over there and people that I know really well. And driving through that area, always in December, January, it would seem, we've had 3 different things happen. The first thing was pretty common. Everybody's got a big cat story at some point in time. So we saw a large black cat jump across the road. We've seen stuff like that before. Didn't think anything of it. Kind of said to each other, did you see that? Yeah, I saw it. That was no big deal. Now, the second one was a little creepier. The second one was right in the town of Millersburg, which isn't really a town anymore. There's a few houses there, whatever, but it used to be a big place. There were 3 huge distilleries right there in that area. It's all cornfields now. But as the trickster sort of entities or those green man entities tend to do, they take the shape of whatever you're thinking of, talking about, or infatuated with at the time. Sometimes they're teaching you a lesson, and other times I think they're just seeing if you're paying attention, in my honest opinion. So as we're driving, we see this thing zoom across the front of the car. And why I say, it's faster than anything I've ever seen in my life. And it was clearly non-corporeal in terms of like you couldn't reach out and touch it. It was that classic transparent sort of thing. But here's the thing about it. We had been listening to a lot of podcasts about, if you guys are familiar with the Dogman phenomenon. Basically like a werewolf sort of thing. It was very clearly, and whatever this was in that form to the classic, almost that Van Helsing movie, like overdone Hollywood CGI to a T, looked exactly like that and was like that. But Dad and I both knew exactly what it was. And we just had that moment because we've had so many weird things happen over the years where it was like, yep, well, there was that thing, just happened. The other one, and you'll like this one because this portends to the Wild Hunt, in my opinion. It ties into Odin for sure. So we're coming into work. We get through Stampers Creek, get into Paoli, the little town there, historic town here in southern Indiana in Orange County. We get to the far side of Paoli. We're going outside of town. There's a little park on the left-hand side of Highway 56. And after that, there is a cemetery that a friend of mine, she started doing caretaking for just recently, but used to be pretty overgrown. And we're driving, and, it's probably, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It may have been later than that. I don't know. I can't remember. But I see out of the corner of my eye, because I'm always watching for deer, I see this big black dog come bounding across that park. And now, when a dog, once it gets up to a run and it no longer runs, it kind of bounds like a deer. Mm-hmm. So this dog is doing that. Looks like a big black lab. Looks almost just like the dog I have now. And so I start to hit my brakes right as I'm getting to it, because I can tell I'm going to hit this dog, and I don't want to hit a dog. I hate the idea of that. Yeah. As soon as I get to it and hit the brakes, this dog hits the apron of the road. The second it hits the apron of the road, it turns into a crow. Clear as day. No dog there. It's a crow. And it flies off in front of the car. I didn't say anything, and Dad didn't say anything. I knew the minute that it happened that he'd seen it. Not a word was said. We didn't say a word to each other until we got the Spirits of French Lick. We got out of the car, and he was standing there, and I looked at him. I said, "So I guess we're not going to talk about that." And he goes, "No, I don't really see any reason to."
Yeah.
So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Going from a dog or a dog or like a wolf, which Gary and Frecky, to a crow, raven, Hunin and Munin. So it's definitely wild huntish. That's awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
What do you got next on the thing there, Wayne? What do you got next?
Well, so we've talked about. We haven't talked about any of the women folk of this kind of folklore.
They're crazy anytime, though.
What's that?
So they're crazy anytime, though.
Well, yeah, wintertime. Yeah. So one of the first ones that I came to was Perchta. Frau Perchta. So it's Alpine folklore.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say Frau without thinking of Young Frankenstein, isn't it?
I know, and I can't ever. I'm always weird about pronouncing things that some of these names I had to literally look up how to say it so that I could at least fuck it up with dignity.
Oh, I do it. I do it all the time on If You Have Ghosts, and sometimes I mess them up, and I'm so tired of working with it. Like, there's an episode out there where I literally said purse phone because I read it. I was reading. I know Persephone. I know how to say it, but I said purse phone because I was reading it, and I was like, you know what? I'm so tired. I'm not. It's just going to stay in there.
That's just it. That's the way it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So this one is a dual nature being. I don't know what you want to call her. She was kind of a witch, looking individual. Um, but also the other side of that, the flip side, the dual thing is she could appear as very beautiful. So it's one of those. It's kind of strange that both things. But let's see.
Well, and here's some more esoterica that goes along with that, just to explain some of those
Okay.
female characters. So you got to remember you are in Sagittarius season, but you are getting very close to going into Capricorn, both of which are very masculine figures, and they both represent authority to some degree, but opposing types of male authority,
Right.
right? Then afterwards, you go into Aquarius, and then when you get back into the spring, then you get into February, you're moving into Pisces, which is ruled by Aphrodite, right? Which Aphrodite is another version of Venus. These are that Venetian thing, that descent into the waters of Pisces is an important part of this time of the season too. There's the struggle of Sagittarius moving through the desert, going into Capricorn, which represents all the bullshit you have to deal with in the world, or those very masculine sort of energies.
Hmm.
Then into Aquarius, which is rebellious, and then into Pisces with that Aphrodite, Venusian star, Heliacal rising star sort of characteristics. So it makes sense that you have those balances back and forth, right? And that you have those witchy sort of characters. Also,
Yeah.
who's going to be the person in your village that calls up that green man spirit? Most likely, it's
Right.
going to be whoever the local witch is, right?
Right.
She's going to be the one that can reach out and touch base with the wild man of the woods, and maybe get a little freakiness going on there.
Oh yeah.
So it says here that
They all
she's.
like their stocking stuffed.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So it says here that she is most active, and I'm not going to be able to say this right. Uh, rock, Rognot. It's the 12 nights between Christmas and Epiphany.
Hmm.
So she visits the
Old
homes.
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, she visits the homes to inspect cleanliness and order. Industrious people, those that kept their home, they were rewarded with silver coins, and the lazy, disobedient individuals were punished, sometimes gruesomely. Um, it says here even she might open their, cut their bowels open, and just
Damn.
yeah, and
I
stuff
knew a
them with
woman like
straw.
that once.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying
Um,
anything, so I don't incriminate myself.
yeah, you better not.
Nope.
But anyway, it says that she's also linked to spinning and weaving. Um, to I guess with it says here to she carries a distaff and expects women to finish their spinning by year's end. I guess there's
Yes.
got to get this stuff done.
Yep.
Also, she on the wild hunt. She leads a spectral procession of spirits and demons through the night sky.
Male and female balance,
Look
and
at that.
another piece of esoterica here for you guys, and you guys probably already know this, but if you don't, so the spinning and weaving is important not only in that metaphorical concept of spinning and weaving the fates, but
Yeah.
also the women who did the spinning and the weaving in almost every culture. They were also the culture keepers and the storytellers, because who's going to watch your children when you're out hunting? It's the
Right.
lady who's actually doing the spinning and weaving. And that's where a lot of those Grimm's fairy tales come from. A lot of that mythology comes from, is the little old lady who's doing the spinning and weaving. She's
Yep.
the one telling the stories to the children. So
Keeping them occupied, and she's getting her work done.
exactly,
Nice.
exactly. So very, very important stations that again we've lost culturally
Right.
Yeah.
across the world.
And
So
again, is this another one of the all of these that we've talked about? There's always the balance between doing right, doing wrong, making your choice, and
mhm.
being rewarded or punished.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
and oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna break that mold a little bit here. I'm gonna talk about hunger.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
The
with
Wendigo comes
Wendigo.
Oh yeah,
from the
yeah.
traditional beliefs of several Algonquin-speaking indigenous nations: the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Innu, the Algonquin. The
Excellent.
people understood that winter, in the way most of us today will never understand it. To them, winter wasn't just cold; it wasn't just snow; it was survival, it was hunger, it was life or death. And that's exactly why Wendigo exists. The Wendigo is tied to winter because winter is when everything gets harder. Food disappears, hunting becomes dangerous, families get snowed in and isolated for weeks. And hunger, the real enemy, hunger, changes people. The Wendigo is the spirit of that hunger. The warning of what you become when desperation takes over. In many stories, a person doesn't just meet a Wendigo; they become one
Yeah.
when winter
I was reading
drives
that.
them to the break, the ultimate taboo. When they break that ultimate taboo, which is cannibalism.
Cannibalism.
So,
Yep.
wow,
Yeah, yeah. And those
Wendigo.
things, those stories had real levity in a way too, because culturally they're the type of stories that you hear once in your life and then you never get told again. Because much like the Egyptians, when you speak something, you bring it into existence, right? So as a
Yep.
child, you hear that story one time, and that's the only time it's ever going to be talked about. If it comes up again in conversation, no, we don't talk about that, right? We all know the story. Don't talk about it. We don't
Right.
want to acknowledge that it might happen. So, but it's there. It plants a seed in you early on, and so this is another thing that's very important about the season. So the reason it was Saturnalia, Saturn is the planet Kronos, which is death, right? It's the Grim Reaper. It's your limited time here on Earth, but it is also restriction and responsibility. It's here to remind you of all of those things, and that's why so many of these stories center around that responsibility and that balance, right? That you
Mhm.
can have the good things, but don't forget, by the way, that you still got to feed your ass tomorrow morning, and you got to feed your kids tomorrow morning, and you got to cut the wood,
Mhm.
and you got to do the hard things. So, or make terrible, very dark decisions like eating your brother. I wouldn't eat Wayne. I feel like those people from down there where he's at, man, they're just
More
no
tough.
no amounts no amount of putting them in a cooler and feeding them hot dogs and putting fresh water in there is ever going to get. You're
No.
never going to get the mud.
That meat.
It's just
Well, you can't get the corn liquor taste out of the meat. It just don't.
right.
Um, so I have a Wendigo story that I'd
Yeah,
printed off. If you guys want to hear it, it's called
absolutely.
Yeah.
The Hunger in the Pines. Long ago in the frozen forest of the north, winter came early and stayed long. Snow buried the earth, and the wind howled like a starving wolf. A small, along I can't say it, Indian village. I can't. I'm sorry. It's one of those words I can't say. A small, anyway, Indian village. Food grew scarce. Hunters returned empty-handed, and the people whispered of famine. Among them was a man named Matoska. He was strong, proud, and desperate. And one night, as hunger gnawed at his belly, he ventured deep into the pines, hoping to find game. But the forest was silent, save for the crunch of his boots and the whisper in the wind. Then he heard it, a voice, thin, cold as ice. Hunger, I can end it. Matoska turned, and there stood a towering figure, gaunt and skeletal, with skin stretched tight over its bones, eyes growing like embers in a hollow skull. His breath steamed in the frigid air, and his claws dripped with frost. Eat it, it hissed, and you will never starve. The Wendigo offered him a choice: survive by breaking the oldest law, consume human flesh. Matoska fled, but the voice followed, curling through the trees. Hunger, hunger, hunger. Days passed. His family grew weak. His child cried with hollow cheeks. And when the last scrap of food was gone, Matoska's resolve shattered. He did the unthinkable. The moment his teeth tore flesh, the Wendigo's curse took hold. His heart turned to ice. His body stretched and twisted. His hunger grew eternal. He became the thing he feared, the Wendigo, forever roaming the frozen woods, hunting not for deer, but for men.
Nice. And,
Yeah.
and they say too, it's hunger. So the more the Wendigo eats, the bigger it gets, as well. So his hunger is continuously growing, and you can't appease that hunger. That's
Nope.
And what's that old Bob Dylan quote? You can never go home again, right? Once you've done that, as a person, whether there's any supernatural force involved or not, once you've done that, it's always, whether anyone else knows, it's always in your head, right? And then it becomes that psychological light and dark. What am I? Who am I? Questioning yourself. Next time I get hungry, am I going to do this again? Is this a thing that continues? Because probably.
always going to have that thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Is going to come back. Is it
Just going to
That's a good
set in.
story. I like that.
That was a great one.
Man, Wayne coming out with the stories. What the hell?
Well, I mean, you did it. You did it last time. It's like, well, I can't let him just beat me down that bad. I got to do. I got to come up with something.
Oh, stories. I'd be easier to read my notes if I put my glasses on. Then I can't see my computer screen.
Yeah,
so
I'm having a hell of a time with it, but yeah, I got.
I think next
problem.
I feel you guys.
Next time I come around, when I got to read my notes, I'm going to slide out.
Well, see, that's the thing. If we were like Alan Bishop, we don't need no freaking notes. He's just got it all right there. I mean, he's done his homework.
Listen, I am a human repository of absolutely useless knowledge. Truly.
That is not true. Not true.
Useless knowledge.
So I do, before we get to another story, I do have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So, because again, all these things run together for me in my head, I always seem to have something planned for every part of the year, every cycle we go through. There's always a thing that I'm going to do that's related to distillation or whatever.
Right.
That is inspired by that time. So do you guys have anything that you plan on doing to celebrate this time of the year in terms of spirits? And I ask you because this year I'm planning on doing something really cool, and you guys are the first people to hear about it. At Old Homestead. So we put up a Charlie Brown Christmas tree because I refuse to have fake ass Christmas trees in my distillery, in my part of the production distillery anyways. But we dried a bunch of fruit, etc. We also had done a green pine cone maceration back in the spring. We've got a little bit of agave ferment left over. Probably going to take some sour mash and a little bit of sugar and some caramelized rye malt.
Nice.
And the day after Christmas, we're going to cut those branches off that tree and take all that fruit and throw it into barrels. We're going to ferment that Christmas tree, much like a stone beer would be done that I've done at home before.
Right.
Distill that, and then we're going to run it on the pot double thumper. Probably add some cinnamon and nutmeg and that sort of stuff to it, and then make some kind of liqueur out of it. I don't know what it'll be yet. It'll either be called Saturnalia or it might be called the Wild Hunt. I'm not sure which one we're going to go with. And we'll hold on to it until next Christmas when it'll get released at the distillery, and it'll be a tribute to this time of the year and to storytelling. And we'll do it every year. It'll be an ongoing thing. We cut a live tree, we bring it in. It's there to represent that spirit that is related to distillation, which is very much the Green Man or Bacchus or Dionysus. So I'm excited about it. You see a lot of big distilleries post about being sustainable or environmental friendly. I've never seen one ferment their fucking Christmas tree. So let's see how quick that gets copied.
That's so cool.
Now that you put that out there, Jay Brennan's gonna do it.
Oh man, somebody's gonna be on it. Somebody's gonna be all about it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything really planned. I mean, I've got a ferment that's about ready, and I've got some stuff I need to do. I am gonna start working on. I've got to get some base spirit for my first attempt at absinthe. I've talked to both of you guys. I told you I was planning on it. Most of the herbs I've grown. Jen's grown. So yeah, I'm excited because it's something out of my realm. It's something I've never done, and I love a challenge. I mean, I know it's going to taste like crap, and Damon, you're going to have to help me drink it.
Oh, I will.
But
I got faith in you.
I'll get better.
I got faith in you. You'll get it.
Yeah,
you'll get it.
Pretty much what I do is this time of the year, when I do drink, when I'm out and about and I'm drinking beers at the bars and stuff, it's always dark beers.
I like dark beer
And-
in the wintertime.
And one of the things I talked to Wayne about this is I'm going to be trying to work on a gingerbread distillate liquor.
That'd be cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
So that way, not post all it's all done, but
Yeah.
there's some stuff that I've been tossing around and trying to.
You going to use the 3-inch
figure
sparrow's
through.
nest for that one?
That's the plan, Stan. That's the plan all day.
That'd be cool. That'd be
That'd be
really
a-
cool.
Be a good that'll be good for that piece of equipment. I think that'll work out really good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that these sort of projects, like we've just been talking about, those are the sort of things where that's where distillers can help, even with people not drinking as much as they had been, in previous years, and alcohol falling off a little bit, and it'll come back around. But this is where distillers can actually be relevant to other people, is in telling those stories, right? It doesn't have to be whatever old dude died years ago. It doesn't have to be that story. It can be these things, right? These culturally significant things. Like, I'm sure there was an Ozark tradition of some sort with Christmas and liquor, probably, Wayne. It's out there somewhere. Who knows where it is? Or you
Oh,
can
yeah.
start one. But crafting those stories to a product where when people have a moment to sit down, right, and really be social with one another and have these kind of conversations, and to
Yeah.
tell stories around a specific spirit, it does something beyond just the joy of socializing and drinking. It goes far beyond that, and it plants something in our psyche that reminds us of something from long, long ago that's still alive. You just have to speak it into existence, right? And I think that's important. So
One
Oh,
of the
yeah, it is.
things one of the things on my bucket list, Alan, is to do a spirit that is gathered based like you did. You went in around your farm,
Yeah.
and what you grew and what you harvested, and you put all that together and create a spirit. And it maybe not to everybody, but when to me, when I gather those things and I harvest these things and I have put the work into growing them or gathering them, and then you create something with it, that is capturing that moment in time, that essence of
Yeah.
the everything around you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
or at least that's the goal. I mean, it might taste like a tire fire, but you know,
Could, right?
you never know. But I mean,
No,
if it works out,
yeah, 100%. And when it comes to the times of the year and stuff like that, right? Like, so there's always those weird, like, egregore archetype sort of things, like that Jungian archetype, as we talked about tonight with various characters like the Green Man or some of those Venusian sort of characters.
Yeah.
Like figuring out the time of the year, the correspondences. That's what the alchemists used to work off of. What were the correspondences of the planets in the sky, the stars in the sky, the plants on the ground, the time of the year? So not even just capturing whatever that local essence is, but also, can you capture a little bit of the Green Man? Can you capture a thing where people are like, it's almost what they would call like transference magic, right? Can I make a spirit that, without me expressing it to you, and granted, not everybody would do this, but a select few
Right.
people, without me expressing to you, can I make a spirit where when you drink it, you're like, you know what, maybe I'll put on some fucking typo negative tonight? Is there a little magic there when somebody does that and it's not even a communicated thing?
I think typo is good any night, to tell you the truth.
Right. Right. Yeah. Or Bahas or whoever it is, right? Just whatever that there's a thing that's being captured, I think, when you do things at this time of the year and you work off of those old mythologies, those old folklores, those old lessons. Any time of the year, just playing off of certain traditions, there's a thing that's captured that is beyond. It's beyond what we can understand or put our finger on, right? It's what would have been called the preternatural, which is a little different than supernatural. So it basically means that a thing is unlikely, but not that it can't happen. It's
right,
unlikely to happen, but not impossible to happen.
Yep.
So, and I think that's important stuff. It's cool stuff for sure,
Mhm.
and I love it. And it's cross cultural
Absolutely.
too. It's cross cultural.
Yep.
So
How's that for a hippie rant?
Who's got the next
I love-
story?
Go ahead, Damon. You got something?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I'm coming back home to the Mercas. This one's
Merca.
called the Raven Mocker.
Oh,
The
Oh,
Raven
this will be a good
Mocker
one.
is one of the most feared beings in Cherokee tradition. It's not a cryptid, it's not a witch, it's the spirit of death. The kind that doesn't wait for you to die, it helps you get there. People said the Raven Mocker shows up when someone is close to death, and winter was the season when that happened the most. Think about it: sickness, starvation, long nights, freezing temperatures. Winter was when Cherokee families were at their weakest. And
Yep.
that's when the Raven Mocker came. It doesn't stomp around or howl at night. Most people can't even see it at all, but they feel it. They hear it in the wind, they hear it in the rustling of the branches, and sometimes in the cry of the actual raven circling overhead. The Raven Mocker moves silently, slipping into homes of someone who's fading. It torments them, accelerates their death, and then this is the terrifying part: it steals their life force.
wow.
Cherokee stories say the Raven Mocker grows stronger by consuming the remaining years that that person would have lived. Some describe it as a thin, withered, human like figure with long talons and shadows swirling around it. Others say it looks burnt, twisted, or corpse like. But the truth is, in most accounts, only a trained Cherokee medicine man can see it clearly. And the important thing is, that's because a medicine man is the only one that can stop it. The Raven
Awesome.
Mocker.
Awesome story. You know, I find that really interesting because growing up here, being Cherokee, growing up in the Cherokee Nation, I've never heard that story.
Really?
Really. So
You best
thank you.
reach out to your peoples.
No, I mean,
Right?
I've got, I grew up here and all all the stories,
It's
but not, I hadn't heard that. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
it's interesting because ravens and crows show up so often. Corvids in general, even blue jays, show up so often, and as carriers of the dead, or psychopomps, sort of leading you into the afterlife. And that story leans like halfway between psychopomp and halfway between omen, right? Like it's a little bit of both. It's there's that Saturn thing there. Remember, you too will die, memento mori sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
I knew,
that's a cool story.
yeah. Cherokee, I know our Cherokee people have a big deal with owls. Owls are, to see an owl in the day is a bad omen,
Big no.
and you don't even mess with owl stuff. You know, your uh, only spiritual, the spiritual people dealt with owls.
Right.
It's just bad omen. Yeah. And it's crazy because there for a while I was going through some stuff, and I was, when I go out hunting, I was, once I came up, I had been hunting, I came around and I was walking back up off side of the road on the other side of the fence, but there was a big drop off, and I'm walking through there, and I something caught my eye, and the trees growing up from the bottom, the tops of the trees are up where I'm at because it's a big huge drop off. um and I look over and there's this owl, and he's just like, you know and of course first thing I'm thinking is
It's time to go.
you know and and then that same year I'm driving dad's in the same place. I come down the road, and there's an owl on the side of the road just sitting there in the middle of the day. And so I go down to my dad's and I go in the shop and I grab the welding gloves and I drive back up and park in the neighbor's driveway. And I thought, I'm going to go get this thing off the road before it gets hit. Maybe it's hurt. Maybe it's already been hit. And I walk up to it, and it's like, you know, in the gravel, claws are just popping. And I'm looking at them, and they're like, these things will peel your eyeballs out, those things. And so I reach down, and all my, stupidity that I've, built up, and say, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I reach down, and this thing kind of backs up and looks up at me, and it goes, and, and just, and I mean, it was just like face to face. And I was like, what an idiot you are, Wayne.
Was that was that line you guys you ever watch Twin Peaks? Twin Peaks, that David Lynch show. The owls aren't what they seem, right?
Oh yeah,
So
that pretty.
yeah, that's that
That's just
that
fine.
ties into European stuff or Middle Eastern as well, because the owl is representative of Lilith. So
Mm.
there's always a darkness sort of surrounding the owl
Yeah.
as well when it comes to that. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Jay Brennan sent that to me. Thanks a lot, Jay. Now, what about y'all heard about the Wampus cat, right?
Oh yeah, gotta have the
Everybody knows about
good old
Wampus
Wampus cat.
That's an apple. Well, it stems from Cherokee tradition as well. You heard about
Yep.
that one, right, Wayne?
I've heard the name. I haven't heard the story, so I'm all about
Oh,
it. Let's
shit.
go.
Let me get my glasses out. Here, I'm gonna read.
Yeah,
this
get
one.
your glasses out, Pawpaw.
Okay. The Wampus cat has two different origins depending on who you ask, but the version with the deepest roots comes from Cherokee tradition and begins as a story about taboo, punishment, and transformation. Long ago, the Cherokee held sacred ceremonies that only men were allowed to attend. These rituals were powerful, tied to balance, spirit, and the natural world. But one woman became suspicious that her husband wasn't being truthful about what happened there. So, driven by curiosity and and maybe a little anger, she wrapped herself in the skin of a cougar and snuck into the ceremony to watch. But what she was discovered in the Cherokee tradition, breaking a sacred boundary wasn't just a mistake, it was a serious spiritual offense. As punishment, the elders bound her spirit to that cougar skin permanently. She transformed into something caught between human and beast, a creature with the intelligence of a woman. Oh boy, that sucks. And the power and speed and instincts of a mountain cat. That was the birth of the Wampus cat. Wow.
Cool.
And that's the Wampus cat is partial spiritual warning, part frontier fear, and part real living predator blended into something supernatural. It's not just a creature of the woods, it's a creature of winter nights. When the fire is burning low and something out there sounds like it's screaming your name, it just might be. Or it might be that woman you picked up at the bar. Who knows?
Right.
And that's what I got. That's it
So,
for my
yeah.
notes.
That's it for your notes? Okay.
Yeah, there was one other thing in there, but I couldn't. I think I mixed it up with when I was putting my paragraphs in there. I think it's.
Mm-hmm.
I think I screwed it up. So, oh well.
No, it was good. It was good. Sorry, I lost audio for a minute, and so now I'm back to you guys being really, really low, but I can still hear you as long as I, listen closely.
Okay.
Open your ear balls.
Right?
Right. So
So
you got any other stories down
there's
there, Alan?
Yeah, so and I'm just gonna go off of
Mm.
CIA-pedia here, which is what I call Wikipedia. But
Yeah. See,
another one of the Christmas witches is Befana out of Italy, which I mentioned
Oh,
earlier.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So in
we're-
Italian
Oh, yeah.
folklore and folk customs, the Befana, witch-like old woman who delivers gifts to children throughout Italy on Epiphany Eve, the night of January 5th, in a similar way to Santa Claus or the Three Magi. The Befana is a widespread tradition among Italians and thus has many names. Part of both popular national culture and traditional folk culture, and is akin to other figures who roam about sometime during the 12 days and reward the good, punish the bad, and receive offerings. The Befana is a mysterious, contradictory figure of unclear origins. The character is enhanced by the fact that she is overall neglected by scholars, but is the subject of much speculation by the ones who do mention her. Pre-Christian, Christian, and syncretism of the two have all been postulated as explanations of her origins. In some parts of Italy, especially the central regions, mumming takes place on Epiphany Eve. Dolls are made of her, and effigies are burnt, and bonfires are often lit. She brings gifts to good children, typically sweets, candies, or toys, but cold to bad children. She's usually portrayed as a hag, riding on a broomstick through the air, wearing a black shawl, and is covered in soot because she enters the children's houses through the chimney. She is often smiling and carries a bag or hamper filled with candy, gifts, or both. She is not only loved but also feared and mocked, particularly by children.
Oh, so
So talk to
mummers.
people and tell them not to be.
You mentioned mummers there. Used to have
Mhm.
mummers masks.
Mm,
Oh
A lot of
yeah,
people don't know what mummers are. That was a whole. I haven't heard that word in a while.
I
You
don't
went
know
deep.
that I've ever heard that word.
Mummers
yeah,
masks.
yeah. It there's definitely some interesting traditions there, and you wonder too. So here's another thing that I love about this kind of stuff too. So you'll see like the little things that cross over from Santa Claus through the Christmas witches, like those traditions.
Right,
You can see
right,
where we
right,
picked
right.
them up for Christmas, etc. But you do wonder culturally, especially in Europe and what was called Old Europe. It's almost as though you wonder where those seeds, some of those seeds were planted that were common and got spread from one culture to another, right? Where did they come from? Why do they keep showing up over and over and over again
Right,
throughout time? And you see that with some of the Native American tribes and their beliefs as well, obviously. But
right, right.
it's just a curious thing to see how those things happen. Is it there's a
Oh
culture
yeah.
that's sharing those things, or is it that there is something more to this, right? That appears to everyone, or there's high strangeness 14 that's common to everyone, sort of thing.
I think it's a form of high strangeness because if you're
Mhm.
looking at those early people, those early civilizations, a lot of the people in those old European countries and the Norse, the Scandinavian countries, they dealt with a type of seasonal change a lot of people don't understand. Um, and when you're those old civilizations were very superstitious people in general.
Yeah.
So they put the things that they did know and they superimposed those onto the things that they didn't know. So,
Right.
that
Right.
that's how I see it as far as a lot of those countries and early civilizations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I also think again, a lot of these things they have a seed of truth to them, and they descend from something that's super old. And I've had this conversation with my wife several times, and it's kind of a philosophical conversation, but of the across cultures, and it doesn't matter which culture, but of the old gods, quote unquote gods, are the old traditions, these egregores, these tulpas, these, archetypes. I believe that there are certain ones of them. Um, that there was at least some physical manifestation of. Right now, that may have just been a person or whatever that was a shaman at the time, or a priest class, or a priest king,
Right.
and especially tying back into old Europe and coming from the Scythian descent around the Black Sea that spread throughout Europe and then up into the British Isles. But it does often make you wonder, like some of these things are so common and they're so seeded into cultures and cross cultures that certainly someone provided an example somewhere throughout time, I think.
Right.
So
Maybe Stargate got it correct. Maybe it
they
was
could have.
aliens visiting. You know,
They could have. I when I was a kid, I never got into that movie, but started riding that stupid bicycle, and then I had to start riding that exercise bicycle because it's cold outside. And I watched Stargate the other day, and that movie fucking rocks. That's a great movie.
oh yeah, I watched
Fantastic
all
movie.
the series, and it goes into all those old gods that they had, the Egyptian gods, the Norse gods, the Greek gods. They were all just different races of aliens that would come down and talk to people on Earth and be like, "Look, I'm an alien,
Right?
but you're going to call me your god, and this is my name."
Right.
So
Yeah.
I thought that
You
was
know,
interesting. You put in a sci-fi spin on it,
I
dude. I'm
still
hooked.
think, yeah, I still think there's so many things out there. There's you Machu Picchu. There how do you explain that? These rocks are stacked and you cannot slip a freaking piece of paper between this shit. This man didn't do that.
Right? Or not as we know them now, anyways. For sure.
Right. Right.
For
Yeah,
sure.
now Nephilim. Yeah, yeah.
Could have been
Yeah.
giants.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or
Go back
sons
in
of
Tepe
giants.
is another one of those that I love. I love reading about. And again, a lot of these traditions even go back to that. We talked about the Scorpius Gate earlier.
Yes,
The
I
first
want to hear more about that.
Yeah, the first known example of the Scorpius Gate is actually depicted at Göbekli Tepe. Um, a lot of those animal signals that symbols that you have on the T pillars, they correspond to not exactly the same constellations that we have, but we can tell what they are. And the
Right.
Scorpius Gate is definitely depicted. So, as is the very
Wow.
first known word or symbol that represents God in known history is on one of those pillars at Göbekli Tepe, which is pretty damn interesting, I think. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that, Damon, I love about
Yeah.
what we can do with this show is, I mean, and even tonight, we still tied in distillation, you
yeah,
know, but I
Yeah, we
mean,
did.
we did. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, but I mean, there's like the stuff we've been talking about here. There's so many different venues we can go, avenues we can go down, um, and things we can talk about. And how did these things happen? Look at some of the things you can go and touch and look at and put your hands on today, knowing damn full well we couldn't do
yeah,
that now. We can't do that today.
yeah.
Without machinery.
Um,
Ain't-
Yeah.
and that
I would
I
say
always
even
try
with
to
machinery.
right. I always try to remind people about the art of distillation too, because I think it gets lost sometimes.
Yes.
That it descends from alchemy, and alchemy descends from hermeticism. And what were those guys and gals trying to do? Well, they were trying to unravel what God had done here on earth and figure out how it was done and why it was done and figure out the mysteries of existence. And that's what led to the art of distillation, right? We're still doing the same thing. We're both trying to capture the spirit of what God put into something,
Right.
um, in its purest essence, its purest form, and also again storytelling, which is what we do as humans. We do two things: we create things and we tell stories. That's what we're
Yep.
really good at, and killing each other. We're good at that too. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Hate,
yeah,
discontent.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
Sometimes there are some people that do need to be dead, but not on the scale that we're doing it now.
right, right. Specific, yes, specific.
Wayne, are you laughing at that comment?
No, no, my wife is messing with my head right now.
Oh,
she's
Jennifer.
giving me, she's giving me, I'm
Jenny.
trying to get her to come. Here she comes. Oh,
She
no,
putting
she
that
is. No,
she putting that
she is.
Christmas witch magic on you over there, Wayne.
Uh-oh.
She's always got that Christmas switch magic on me. I'm lost at. Oh,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Got
Well,
a little
that's
that
Well,
green man
or
going on
that.
over there.
Yeah, a little bit of that green man going on over there.
that's about it for Wicked Winter. Unless y'all got anything else you want
No,
to talk about there. I mean, we covered a lot tonight
we
on Wicked
did.
Winter. We
We
covered a
covered
lot.
a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Um,
territory. I think we did a really great job. I really appreciate you guys including me in it and
Well,
letting me
I'm
be a
glad
part
you're
of it.
here, Alan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now winding down. What do you got going on now, Alan? You said you starting up another podcast?
Yeah, so we're doing
He's stacking
Distillers Talks
episodes,
kind of
man.
on Distillers Talks on a little bit of a hiatus right now because Christy's pretty busy with Old Carter Whiskey Company. And so Tyler and I are always talking distilling theory, or we'll see questions on some of the forums and stuff that I don't necessarily need to do for One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute or theory stuff. So we've got a really good rapport with one another. So it makes sense for he and I to do a podcast, which helps promote Old Homestead Distillery. But
Yeah, I'm looking
more
forward to
so,
that.
yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we've got three recorded right now. Trying to get about 5 ahead. I like to stay
Yeah.
ahead of that stuff so it doesn't become such a job.
Well, that it gives you a bye week every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And as much as I love distilling and all these things, it's awful nice to be able to take a week off if you need to from one of the projects or whatever. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's coming. It's I've even debated I might release the first episode Sunday potentially. I don't know. We'll see.
Sweet.
We'll see. I can't even remember what we talked about on the first episode. I know we talked last night. We recorded one, and it was mostly about condensers, and line arm angles.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
See, those are
So
things I get all wrapped up in that being a still builder. I mean, I've got some stuff in there. I'm helping out a guy. He's got problems. He's got some leaks and things like that. And he sent me his stuff, and it's like some of it's kind of beat up. And I was like, hey, I said, you want me to take those dents and stuff out and fix that stuff while I'm like, yeah, yeah, if you can. I was like, but looking at it, I'm sitting here looking at the line arm, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it, there's so much to that, and it
Mhm.
plays everybody everyone we were talking about distillation, and people ask me questions, and I'm like, okay, everything matters.
Yes.
Everything makes a difference.
Yep.
The
Yep.
smallest little tilt in a line arm can change your spirit drastically.
Huge differences. Yes. Yeah. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
those are things that they get overlooked a lot. So I think there's a lot of room yet in distilling media for that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm probably a little bit of a glutton for punishment because I really, really like helping people, and I don't.
Yeah, you do, sucker.
Up to this point, I haven't charged anybody to help them with anything unless I'm consulting for somebody. Um, but I don't know. I guess I always have to have something that I'm working on. Like I feel like I have to earn the money for the Practical Distillers and Alchemist Almanac, and that's how I push it out there. But
Yeah.
so we should have. I should have copies of the Practical Distillers and Alchemist Almanac for 2026, either tomorrow or Monday, according to shipping.
Awesome.
And then this year you'll be able to either order it from me signed, or I will have an Amazon link and you can order it from Amazon. And probably in the future, we're going to go Amazon on almost everything because shipping has gotten to be such a massive pain in the ass. It's a pain to get it to us, and then we have to repackage it and send it out to you. And I hate running behind on that stuff.
Oh, I
So
know.
I want to make it as easy as I can for people to get the thing.
Oh,
Um,
I'm already
it-
started on your article for the next one, so you don't have to ding me on it. I'm on it, bro.
Excellent. Excellent. What else I got? So Old Homestead's doing fine. You can keep up with that at oldhomesteaddc.com.
Yep.
We'll probably start doing some classes this year, I'd say. We did just get our distribution permit, so the stuff that we actually
Sweet.
had distilled to specification up at Moondrops north of Indianapolis. We'll actually be putting that into distribution at least in Indiana and maybe through one of the online retailers sometime at the beginning of the year. So
Okay.
um, that'll be good and bring in a little extra money for
Awesome.
sure.
Nice.
And then as far as if you have ghosts, you have everything. I have a couple of stories about river creatures in the Ohio Valley that I'm getting ready to do. And
Oh,
then
nice.
I'm going to do a narration of Carl Jung's Seven Sermons to the Dead, which is just super cool. This is where I get down to like the 10 people that are going to listen, is, just straight up narrating Carl Jung shit. So, but it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to doing that. And then in the new year, I've got 5 or 6 guests that we've got lined up for If You Have Ghosts, and then after we get through those, I'll probably take a break from it again. That's one of those projects that I love because I can walk away from it and it's fine. It's there. I'll
Hmm.
come back to it, months down the line or whatever.
Yeah, those of us
I
that
don't.
listen, we're just waiting for the next one. Damon,
Good.
you got a lot of catching up to do. There's
I
some
do.
really great episodes, man.
I do. I
It's
listen to a lot of
it's something I'm really really proud of. Truly, it is. It's
I
I
love
listen
it.
to a lot of the weird strangeness types of podcasts. And I'm like, shit. Now I got all this to catch up on Allen's now. But so
Yeah, it'll take you a while.
I'll be getting in there. I'll be getting in there.
Good.
Now next month we're working on a show that is back to moonshining.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't want to give too much away now, but I'll just tell you it's sweet. And there is a special guest that we're trying to get back on the show. Oops, I kind of let it out. I'm trying to get on the show, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. And the next time we're going to actually be visiting some of the weird strangeness stuff is we're going to be diving into the Falk Monster as well.
Nice.
We
Very
got
cool.
I got a guy that has been on a lot of those Trek's out there hunting them down. It's got some video footage and some photo images and stuff. So it's gonna be
Nice.
fun.
Oh, I'm looking
That's
forward
gonna
to
be
that.
fun. So
That'd be a
But
great
that's
one.
what we got coming up.
I'll definitely be checking that out for sure.
that's what we got
Damon,
coming up.
Can we shave these beards off after we do the Santa Claus thing?
You can shave anytime you want to. I tell you, when I shave mine off, though, it doesn't look good.
Nah, I'm gonna keep it going. I'll just let it go.
I just
You need to get
listen. I
yours
shaved
into
mine.
that-
I just
that really
I
white.
end up looking like a less talented version of James Spader. So speaking of Stargate,
Stargate, awesome. I might watch that again. Hell yeah! But that's it, everybody. I want to
All right.
thank everybody out there for tuning in and listening to us babble on for an hour and 20 minutes about weird strangeness and 14
Absolutely.
topics. It was fun. I enjoyed it. We
Absolutely.
definitely covered a lot. Alan, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
back.
Thank you.
It was
thank you.
awesome.
very, very, very welcome, guys. Very welcome. Merry Christmas to everybody, or whatever you
Yeah, Merry
celebrate.
Christmas,
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year, and yeah, whatever you
Tell your people the weird stories.
absolutely.
And don't forget, the proof is out there. Seek the proof
the
as a
proof.
part of the Moonshine Militia Podcast Network.
Exactly.
We have a network now.
We have a network.
All right, guys. I love you. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, later, y'all.
Bye.
Later, guys.